Welcome back, everybody, to In the Loop. What's up, everybody? My name is Michael Burpo. Thanks for joining us again. We're going to be talking about stealing the show, and this is in reference to a lot of jewelry shows are actually opening back up, and we've actually been missing it for an entire year. And jewelry shows, in case you're not familiar with the jewelry industry, are a great way for vendors like ourselves, the Punchmark and the Smithy Group, to interface and meet with our clients, as well as jewelry retailers, just to get a chance to kind of see what's going on in the jewelry world. It's a really fun talk. We talk about the future of the jewelry industry with two CEOs, and I think it turns out really interesting, and we talk about a lot of great points. This episode is brought to you by Punchmark, the jewelry industry's leading website provider. Join the community of nearly 500 other jewelry stores in choosing Punchmark's easy-to-run and e-commerce-enabled website platform by visiting punchmark.com for your free trial demo. And this episode is brought to you by the Smithy Group, a digital growth agency that helps leaders and businesses dream bigger and achieve multi-generational integrity. Through insights and intelligence, digital marketing, and advertising solutions, they help businesses expand their business and grow their revenue. The Smithy Group has helped hundreds of businesses surpass their goals and believe that whatever your business, whatever your story, they'll make it matter to your audience. A very special thank you goes to The Edge point of sale system for sponsoring this week's episode, and you'll hear more about them later on the show. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the show. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Michael Burpo, and I'm joined by Ben Smithy and Ross Cockrum. I don't think they really need much of an introduction. I think you guys have been on the show a couple times already. Is that right?
That is correct, sir.
That's right.
I think 2-3 times now. So you guys are veterans at this. So exactly, regulars, permanent guest hosts, you might even say. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about jewelry shows. And now that things are opening back up, I think that we've actually already attended, I think the AJS show actually was in person, which was great to hear.
AJS, RJO.
Yep. Yeah, and RJO as well. I forgot about that. Maybe we can kind of give people an idea, Ben, if you don't mind, an idea for the landscape that jewelry shows provide and why it's important for jewelers to be going to them and why it's even important for vendors like ourselves to be going to them.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple different aspects of it. Historically, it's where the commerce and the trade actually happened, right? It's a trade show. In that space, a lot of it was around where most of the retailers would come, see the new products, see the new lines from the manufacturers who have booths, buy their product for the next season or for the year, holiday, however it may be, and then place their orders. And that's where most of the business would be transacted. That said, over the years, it's evolved. And so there's the big element, and I would say almost as important of an element, depending on who you speak to, is the fact that education plays a big role in each of these trade shows. So each of the trade shows has a large educational component, which Punchmark and TSG both play a significant role in, I would say, educating the industry. And so that's there. And then I think the third aspect, which is even more important as we come out of into like a post-COVID world and all of that, is the networking and the camaraderie and the shared learning spaces. So the education that happens peer-to-peer that people are really seeking out. And so I think when you have that sort of triangle of values, because business is still written at these shows, right? A significant amount of it. So when you have these values, that's what keeps them going, and that's what's going to keep them coming back. And that's why we're going to definitely, with the 100% certainty, be back at the shows, because it provides a unique value proposition to the industry.
Yeah. And Ross, you've been going to jewelry shows for a while now. Was it, how many years would you say? 20 years?
98, 97.
Goodness.
98 actually was my first show. So yeah, it's been quite a while.
And has that education component always been there at the jewelry shows? Or is that kind of like a newer kind of progression?
You know, it has, and that's been a big element, you know, the peer-to-peer aspect, the roundtable aspect. But it's never, like, it's kind of graduated into a new form right now. Everyone, especially the independent retail jeweler, everyone's always looking over the shoulder of their neighbor. What are you guys doing? Well, what are you guys doing? And
yeah.
And you know, there's this kind of assimilation of knowledge that happens. The networking aspect of trade shows is infectious. You know, me as, you know, an employee of a trade show organization at the time, I didn't have a business, but I would go and watch the keynote and I would listen to this great motivational speaker and walk away supercharged, ready to apply it to anything in my life, you know?
Yeah.
And you build off that energy. There's something to be said about the crescendo of energy that you get from being in the same physical space as people. And you hear people talk about going to Disney World and the magical feeling you get with all the kids in the, magical kingdom, whatever. Getting to a professional arena with that same kind of vibe, I mean, it is infectious. So we're excited to, we've gone to, I think, 3 or 4 trade shows since the COVID lockdown, and those who were brave enough to put on the events, Atlanta Jewelry Show, AJS, and JIS Miami, to name a couple, who have had repeat shows from fall and spring of this year. And we've seen a repeated theme that, because in the effect of 2020, education has played an even more important role, especially related to e-commerce, digital marketing, and how to manage your online presence. So we're seeing that a lot more. We're seeing people go down for the purpose of, hey, I didn't even want to look at any lines. I just want to talk to you guys. You know what I mean? Like at Punchmark or Smithy Group.
Yeah. I've always been so surprised by the sharing of information, between jewelry retailers. It seems they're so open. Whereas I always kind of thought that business was supposed to be like an elbows out sort of, box out the competition, sort of hard nosed kind of thing. But it seems like it's more along the...
Well, it's both though.
It seems like it, yeah.
It's both, because if you're a big box, the independents are definitely going to box you out, no pun intended.
Yeah.
If you are in the same market, you're going to see a little less like open-handed type sharing. So it's very competitive and very cordial at the same time. You know what I mean? Like it's there, definitely. So
yeah. Don't you think, though, that we're kind of the lines about who competitors are is starting to become blurred? Because, we all are. I could order from someone in California at the same time as someone from Charlotte, where I am.
That's the deal. But so if you're on the digital side and if you see the whole board, you definitely understand that.
Yeah.
If you're just looking at your next move, you may not recognize the reality of that yet and see it. What you feel and what is real are two different things, right? In reality, yes, everyone's competitive. However, if you don't feel it yet and you feel like you just have your business is really just brick and mortar and you see the people and you see that you're taking business from your local competitor, right? That's different. What you feel is way different than what's real. And the reality is we're quickly ramping up into that online competitive nature to where the web is your region. And if you're not in that space and if you're not competing in that space, then this tiny little jeweler from, Poughkeepsie, New York or whatever is going to crush it by a landslide.
Yeah.
Right. And I second that. I think that it's a very interesting dichotomy when you look at the competitive space in the landscape, considering how the lines are blurred. The borders are not so much there with state lines and city lines because, Mike, like you said, you can buy something in California the same as you buy something right here in Charlotte. What's funny is the level of diversification that you can go down, so you don't need to go head to head with some people. On a digital marketing level, I bring up the example of if you're trying to fight for the words engagement rings, New York City, like that's it's crazy, right? There's so many people fighting for that space. I don't even know anymore. You're probably $9, $10, $15 a click. That people are paying for. I think it was $9 a click like years ago. So it's probably jumped up a lot. Now you look at the uniqueness, the combination of brand identity mixed in with product selection, mixed in with price, mixed in with uniqueness and all that other stuff. And, you sprinkle in a lot of that personality and you give people reasons why they want to shop with you. The industry isn't even there yet, the jewelry industry. There's a few key players who are doing it very well, and they're going to stay in the space for a long time because they have lifelong buyers, people who are all adamant about the brand. But you have people who are like just learning digital marketing and like in e-commerce and well, how do I compete? And those people need to. It's almost like you have to start with training wheels. Start small, but try to be as niche as possible in whichever category you can. And that's what people are learning. And when they're in the same space at the trade shows, sometimes you look at your neighbor and you're like, oh well, he's doing the same thing I am, but it forces you to say, well, what can I do differently?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get into this space. So I see it's sort of like the snap. And if you're an Avengers fan or like an in-game fan,
yeah,
it's not going to be instantaneous like that. But I don't think people realize how much of a cliff we're heading toward when it comes to the realization of digital competition, digital relevancy, the next gen consumer, like all of these pressures where it comes to social, digital, where it comes to e-commerce, where it comes to Gen Z, where it comes to transparency, when it comes to all of these different things. All these forces are sort of coming together. And as soon as it all comes together, there will be sort of this snap that happens. It's not all of a sudden like 50% of the industry of like businesses are going away, but essentially you start seeing it right now. There are a couple factors at play, meaning there's a certain generation of retailers that don't have someone in the next generation to take over the store. So they're really looking at, how do I sell it? Do I shut it down? You have other people that are passing it down to the next generation, and they're really saying, okay, I need to invest in my business. I need to grow it. I need to do all these things. And then you have other people that just don't know how. And so they're going to get swallowed up by the competition. So there is this next generation, I think, of retailer that's either going to be able to expand their reach, their store significantly, start an online business, which is essentially their second location, or really start opening more locations. I know that sounds weird and ironic to say, but there's going to be this opportunity that single store retailers are going to be in such a power position that they can double, triple down on their business and start opening in locations where competitors used to be.
100%. And, it reminds me of a term that we learned in mass communications class about a term called the digital divide. And the digital divide is basically on an economic and social economic level. You have basically the gap between those who have computers and access to the internet and those who don't, right? So in the same breath, those businesses who are utilizing the digital space in every capacity they can are going to just catapult like exponentially. And so in that snap, Ben, that you mentioned, it might not be necessarily overnight, but I think it could even be, brought down to a series of months, and like let's even call it May of 2023, and suddenly everyone who knows it and is with it gets over that gap. All the Gen Z consumers are at the age of buying engagement rings, and then suddenly, boom, there's this huge gap, and everyone who wasn't on the bus is just left in the dust. You know what I mean?
In what, like, again, it's feel versus real. In reality, it's been a slow burn. But people are going to feel like, what happened overnight? All of a sudden, this.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. It's happening now. And this is why I'm so adamant. Like, it sucks because when you are so adamant about something like this, it can come off as feeling very salesy or very promotional, right? We're a digital agency, so of course we're going to promote the importance of digital. But the reality is, the truth is the truth. And there's so much, I'm so passionate about this because it means so much to businesses out there right now and their future.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I listened to a podcast called Pivot, and it's with this guy, Scott Galloway. He's a business analyst, especially for e-commerce. And when he talks about going bankrupt, he says, how does bankrupt happen? It happens in two stages, very slowly and then very suddenly. And I think that the opposite almost has happened or the same thing has happened in the e-commerce space, especially in the jewelry industry. The shift to e-commerce and online happened very slowly and then very suddenly. And it was right around the time, pretty much March, April, May of last year. It was just an absolute onslaught. Suddenly people were like, well, let's start being real. And I like what you said, Ben, about having an online store and then basically that's your second location. If you guys don't see it as a second location, you're going to go the way of the dodo. You're going to be left in the dust. And I do think, I don't know what the years, I'm hesitant to kind of put like a real marker on it. I would be willing to say, so we're in 2021 right now, May 2021. I would even go so far as to say that the shift to digital will be double what it is right now by, probably 2023 of May, and it'll probably double even quicker. Yeah.
Oh, I think it's more than that.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think double's I think that's a safe bet. I'd take that bet every day. Every time I'd take that bet.
People are just, it's so easy. I was looking around. I wanted to make my own, I want to ferment my own miso. Couldn't buy koji anywhere. Well, what am I going to do? I just looked up koji bought it online. It's so at your fingertips. If I can't find something, why on earth am I going to go into 3 different stores and try to buy something?
Yeah.
If people are trying to buy a gift for, Mother's Day, as we're recording this, is on Sunday. So make sure you guys mark your calendars, you too. Why am I going to go into 5 different stores with the chance of finding the right thing when I can just do it at night, and just from my computer?
Yeah, well, you're hitting on a very important topic, and this is something that we've been speaking on a lot. An element of it is that the simple question of how convenient is your business?
Yeah, convenience.
We are in an era of convenient consumption, right? And so if your business is not the most convenient option, consumers will find the most convenient pathway. And so it doesn't mean that the product has to be super easy or whatever. Like, it's just how convenient can I discover your brand? How convenient can I interact with a human being? How convenient can I make a purchase? How convenient can I see your products? How convenient is your business if I have to have a return or exchange or a refund or something like that? Like, we are in the business of convenience. The web and everything that is on mobile has made our world of consumption more convenient. It's so convenient to consume great content. It's so convenient to create great content. It's so convenient to start a website, right? But it's hard to make your business do that well. And so if we need to focus on the future, then we need to be in the business of convenience. Like, how do we make our consumers' lives more convenient? And how do we make our business more convenient to be consumed? And that's the moral of the story when it comes to digital, right? You have to be thinking about that as a solution.
Agreed, yeah.
Ross, I mean, how many people have come to us asking for new types of payment methods? And that's it comes to the convenience thing. I mean, how many people have come and it's not just Visa, MasterCard anymore. It's, Apple Pay and PayPal and all the other ways because, if that's what they're looking for.
Crypto.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because, the same aspect of what digital, like the theme behind why digital is going to continue to succeed is that when your customers can't get to you, you go to your customers. And that's exactly what people did last year, right? So that's exactly what happened. People were, anyone who didn't have e-commerce turned on a Punchmark website was frantically calling us hey, how can we get e-commerce set up and everything like that? So it's interesting because what we're finding is trade show industry, the conference industry, they're doing the same thing. You see a lot of these people going virtual, right? And so my question to you guys, I'd like to see, what you guys think about. I personally don't think it's a replacement for the in-person trade show experience, but where do you guys see for the virtual trade show going in the next few years? Looking at stores that are going digital, what about trade shows that are going digital, and what does that mean, and what kind of experiences do you guys see that will actually make a groundbreaking movement on trade shows in general?
So I would say, and this is me, and I'm not a CEO of either of these companies, so I will just, if they get mad at me, then be mad at me. I think that these trade shows need to, again, get the let out with getting on the modernality of it. The fact that a lot of these trade shows didn't have a virtual version, aren't adapting to online quite as well. The fact that they don't have a centralized point for all vendors to see so that they can update it and have that be a space. Why don't I don't want to call them out by name, but all these different trade shows, if you're already paying dues to them, why aren't they producing educational content that's either not syndicated, but more regulated or regular, and have that be an opportunity for thought leadership? And why are we the ones that are doing it? How come some of these trade shows don't have a podcast? How come some of these trade shows don't have a virtual conference? Why don't they have you can literally get on YouTube Live and put together something with your eyes closed. And the fact that they haven't done it, I'm going to say, is a real oversight on their part, and that it kind of left the door open for us to do it. Why are the vendors doing it? That they should be the ones that are doing the leadership. But that's a hot take, a little spice in there. But
Yeah, but I think to the alternative point, a lot of them are. If you look at it, like what JCK and the big ones are. So JCK with JCK Pro, I think that was a genius move on their part in terms of creating content that is of value and literally valuable enough for people to pay for it, right? And then bringing in thought leaders to do that. I think that, look, in a lot of ways, like, you have to understand what business you're in. And JCK's always been in the business of bringing people together. They've been the syndicator, right? They've been the person that brings synergy to the industry through bringing in and matching providers and retailers, matching educators with education opportunities. And so they've always been in that business of creating a platform for people to create and connect and create commerce within. And so I think they've been a great job of sticking to what they do best and then providing opportunities for people like Punchmark and TSG to be the experts in the field to do that, right? They've never claimed they're the expert in XYZ. They've said, hey, we have the experts in XYZ. And then if you look at the like smaller conferences and trade shows and buying groups, I think they're trying to be in that space. Everybody did some sort of virtual when they needed to. And I think now they'll start to adapt as they go to understand, okay, where do they fit in with this, right? It's sort of a whiplash effect. Nobody had it, then all of a sudden everybody had to have it, and now they'll figure out and they'll sort of swing back to a middle of, okay, what does it really look like for our business to do this well, right? I look at a brand that's really trying, or an organization that's really trying to figure it out and sort of really wrestle with what it looks like, right, is AGS, and with Conclave and Virtual Conclave and then Confluence. And look, nobody's going to get it right the first time, right? Or rarely will they get it right the first time. But I like that they're wrestling with it. I like that people are taking some chances, trying to grind it out and figure out what it looks like for their organization. So I'm hesitant to give too much of a hot take on it in the sense that there is this messiness that happens at first. And so I don't want to be the person that's a proponent of like, yes, go for it, try it. You got to be in this space, but then be like, oh, you're doing it wrong or you're messy. No, it's like, okay, just keep doing it. Like, let it be messy. Figure it out and it'll work its way out. Like, you'll find your voice, right? You'll find your roar.
Definitely. Guys, I think we're going to just take a quick break and we'll come back with more. Support for this week's episode comes from The Edge. The Edge is the jewelry industry's leading point-of-sale system, though you've probably already heard about how amazing they are. They're in the business to help independent jewelers succeed in an ever-evolving retail environment where technology plays a major role. Their promise to their clients is to never let them get caught in technological or functional time warp. The Edge develops their software on state-of-the-art technology and adds features and functionality in the best interest of their users. In the words of Edge founder Dick Abbott, our biggest reward is the success of our store owners. To learn more about the Edge point-of-sale system and all the ways that can accelerate your business approach into an omni-channel solution, visit theedgeforjewelers.com. Thanks, back to the show. All right, everyone, we're back. Still joined by Ben and Ross. I think that I'm really excited for JCK. This is going to be my first time going. It's going to be in Las Vegas. I've never been to Vegas before.
Oh, man.
Which shows, yeah, I know. It's going to be, I really wanted to go for a jewelry show because I didn't want my first time in Vegas to be with a bachelor party because I feel like that gives you a different look at it. And I want to go and see like the city and then I can do the bachelor thing some other time. But which shows are you guys most excited for?
Ross, you better put a tracker on Mike over there for this show. We're going to lose him. He may never come back.
You're going to get lost in a Bellagio.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We have, on the trade show schedule, he's set to be down at the booth at 6 a.m. every day.
Good,
so he's
yeah.
good. Just kidding.
That's how you got to, break in JCK. That's you got to pay your dues, right?
Yeah. I'm excited about all of them, honestly. I feel like what's going to happen to, the United States and the world really is when everyone gets back to a safe haven of, COVID-19, the bad word that we've all said way too many times, and being in a physical space together. And the day that we are able to actually take our masks off, it's going to be a pretty happy occasion, right? So I'm excited for what that means, just on a human level, right? On a personal human level. Like JCK has a no hugs and no kiss policy, right? So they're like, in Sarah's note to everybody, their VP of the group, she said, everyone has to get good at, elbow bumps and air kisses, right? So it's a kind of a fun way to say it. But we're still going through this, right? But I am excited this month, actually. Centurion Phoenix, that's on the 22nd, going out there. But yeah, JCK, IJO Kansas City, that's going to be a fun location. But and yeah, I mean, JCK is always, just it's a small city of people. It's 30,000 people that come every year to one location, and it's just, there's so much that everyone can garnish from that, from retailers to vendors to manufacturers to designers to tech companies to marketers to educators can gain from it. Like it's insane. So I'm always excited about JCK for that level. What about you, man?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. We'll be at IJO in Kansas City. We'll be at JCK. We will be at AGS Conclave. Look, Vegas is always I love Vegas as a city. I love seeing everybody. I love the meet and greets as you're walking through the halls of the convention center. It is the penultimate sort of gathering and sort of pilgrimage of the industry each year. So I'm excited for it to be back. Look, I know it'll be a little different this year, but once we get there, the feelings and everything else will be the same, and that's what means most. And then I think the other piece of it is I'm excited, obviously, for Conclave, because I think it's so educational focused. It's retailer and educational focused, and that's
true.
As a company, that's where we live and that's where we thrive, right? And so excited for that, and it's in Dallas. That's the OG home for me. So that's right. So I'm excited for that, and excited for people to see the city and get out and hang out in Dallas. Apparently, COVID doesn't exist in Texas. It's just like wide open spaces. So,
same thing in Florida, apparently. But
that's right. So, we'll be good there.
One thing I've always really thought is extremely fascinating, and maybe we can just talk to and give an idea to the people that aren't actually in the jewelry, or maybe they've never been to a show before. But the thing that I've always found extremely interesting about these shows is that just as much business actually happens off the floor as really on. I mean, and I can speak specifically to AJS. We've actually I've gone there twice now, and I always laugh that we have a booth, and you have people come by, whatever. You talk to them about whatever websites or not, and then everyone leaves, and then right afterwards they kind of expect you to go to this happy hour that's right afterwards, and like drinks are free for the first like hour or whatever. But what's so fascinating about it is that people are way more open to business talk there than they are even on the show floor. Everyone's running around making their bread or whatever on the show floor, but then you get to this place and then suddenly they want to hear your pitch, and it's like I made my first website sale at a happy hour, and it wasn't even me trying to make a sale. It was them like, all right, tell me what you do. Oh, you make websites? We need a website. And it's like, okay, I guess we're going to do this right now. And that is the kind of thing I wish that more people were able to see about the industry. It's a very unique kind of feel to it.
Well, and it's not even just the industry. That's just how people want to do business with people. It's we talk about the human brand, and that's it, right?
100%.
Yes, I go to your booth to understand the scope and services, but I go to dinner and go to drinks with you to understand if I really want to do business with you. I mean, that's it, right? Look, we do a lot of calls and Slack and email and webinars and meetings and strategy sessions as our two companies, but where do we really have the most collaboration and where do we have the most ideas come out? It's when we're talking and we're hanging out and we're going to Topgolf together or having dinner. Like TSG and Punchmark, we as a company, we have dinner together at least once, if not every night of a show, and hang out and have drinks and we figure out something fun that we do together. And that's where we really have the best ideas because our teams are coming together, the teams are vibing, the owners are vibing, we're just having fun. And that's where trust gets established. That's where camaraderie gets established. That's where new ideas happen. And that's the same thing that happens when it's with clients, right? It's like you can tell clients something, but when they understand and see your intent, when they see your personality, when they see your heart behind something, they're like, oh, okay, I'll do what they say when it comes to social media or whatever,
Yeah. And when it comes to ideas, I think, Mike, to, jump on what you were talking about before in context of being outside of the trade show in the professional space, not only is your guard, knocked down because you get more frank in your conversations. You kind of get right to the point. You kind of talk more honestly and openly about things. But also there's a really cool thing that the trade show itself exemplifies. And how many times have you been like really trying to think something through and looking at a blank piece of paper or trying to write something and you're like, I put something together. And then you're like, you go run errands and you're outside and, you know, passing by other, and then suddenly a flood of ideas comes through to you because you're outside, and I personally like to take lunch runs while at the office, and I go for, and the perspective that I gain from I do my best work on my lunch runs. I come back and I attack things. And the same goes with jewelry store owners. Every single day, they're flooded with customers, with things going on in their business and their P&L and their HR issues and all that stuff. And the minute they get out of that element, they jump on a plane, they go to JCK, AGS Conclave, and they get educated. They got that vibe going with this is awesome, meeting cool people. And then you get the drinks going, and then you start talking, and you start networking. And the thing is, now you're like thinking from the 36,000 view of your business from outside of your business. And you're like, you know what? Wait, we've been doing it all wrong. And then suddenly you're like, you go back with all these ideas and you're like, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to change our whole sales techniques to this and blah, blah, blah. And it's just invigorating. You know what I mean? And a lot can be said about the after hours and the happy hours, because it's about relationships. You do business with the people you want to do business with, the people you like, the people you get along with, and the people you connect with. And so it's about that relationship building in every regard, from a sales aspect, from a networking aspect. I love it. I'm really excited to get back on the horse, man, because it's like, the whole industry is, everyone feels the same way about that, just missing it,
100%.
And I think, that's a nice kind of way to end this off. I definitely want, one of my goals for In the Loupe is in 2022, so next year, I would love to sponsor some happy hour, because it's like kind of like a perfect example of exactly what we're trying to do, which is like promote and advocate for education and just improving your business and not just getting stuck in the old ways. And if we can do that around drinks, even better. But Ross, Ben, I thank you guys so much for your time. We got 2 CEOs, 2 business leaders that are pushing the industry forward. I really appreciate you guys' time. Anything else before we get going?
No, man, excited to just see what's happening next, and excited to see friends and hang out. And I think it'll be more similar than it is different than the old days, which is a positive thing.
I think so too, yeah.
Ben, looking forward to that elbow bump at the next show, man.
That's right. Yeah. Aggressive elbow bump.
Yeah. Maybe even an air kiss if you're lucky.
Whoa.
Whoa. Find out more next week. All right. See you guys next Tuesday. Appreciate your time.
All right.
Later.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, everybody. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening. Leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, and remember to subscribe. It really helps us grow. Thank you so much. See you next week.